I'm going to do my pot stuff now. I'm gonna talk about it. It is called Smoking Funny. I'm an old pothead. I made no bones about it. I started when I was young. It used to be hash. The older people will remember that. I mean, you guys have it easy now. You get to roll your weed. We had to, burn our mom's knives. It's nothing better, right? And when you realize it's the good china, fuck! Come on, get the rainbow out of it, man. And you always had some dickhead who got too close to his mouth and had 2 burn marks going across his fucking lip. That was fucking great. I've always done, and I do weed now. I mean, I know people call it a gateway drug, but I want you to know that I would have done all those drugs anyway. Yeah. The only gateway that's ever been involved with weed and me is that time I stayed at my brother's and he had a stairgate up. I smoked a lot of weed and I wanted a snack, but he had a little stairgate on the stairs and it took me I stood there for about 30 minutes stoned trying to push and pull. And it took me 30 minutes before I realized I could just fucking do this. But I took university was something where weed really kind of took over my life, because I was always someone. I never went to class. I didn't know what I wanted to be. They were forcing me to go to school. Basically, you have to make that decision. So I'm in college. I didn't care, and I used to not go to class and try to learn everything the night before the exam, right? And I never forget this. I had a really big end-of-year exam, and it was going to cost, most of my mark for the year, and I was leaving to go study, and my buddy Grenville Clark, he said to me, so you're going to go try to learn the whole year tonight? And I said, yep, I'm going to learn it all, I'm going to read it, and I'm going to ace the exam, right? And he just laughed at me. So I'm leaving to go do this, and that's when this girl walked in, and she was absolutely gorgeous. I liked her for a year, but I was too shy to go up and talk to her. Well, she walks up to me now, right? And I'm like, fuck, I got to leave for this exam. What could she say, right? And she looks at me, and she goes, hi, Sean. And I went, hi. She goes, I've had a crush on you for the past year. And I said, no way, me too. She goes, yeah, but I'm moving to Europe tomorrow, so I'll never see you again, so I'd like to sleep with you tonight as a going-away gift. So I had a choice as a man. I could sleep with her and not study, or, well, fuck, I could take the course next year. It didn't really matter at this point. So we went back to her place, made out, and had sex. And I got up the next morning. I went to the exam at 8:30. The exam was at 9. My buddy Grenville was there. I still was. I just smelled of booze, and I smelled of sex. I love that smell. Because everyone knows it when you smell like sex, eh? And they always give you that look like, you just had sex. And I'm like, yeah, you didn't. So I'm just standing there, right? I grabbed his textbook, and I tried to learn it all the highlighted parts. And he looks at me, and he goes, you didn't study at all. And I said, no. He goes, well, do you want to smoke a joint? Yes, I do. Because if I'm going to fail something miserably, I'm going to giggle through the whole fucking experience. I wrote the exam high, and I got a 96. Yeah. So I figured, why not get stoned for every exam from then on? Well, I must have bought a different batch of weed. Because I was sitting in the next exam for about an hour, and I was sweating and rubbing my hands through my hair, and the prof came by and said, is there a problem, Sean? And I went, fuck, Sean, that's my name. Question 1 was a toughie. I'll leave you with this one. This is... I'll never forget when they legalized it, and I was in England, and when they finally legalized marijuana over here, how excited I was, So I actually flew back to my hometown of Ottawa, and I thought, I just wanted to smoke a joint in front of a cop. I just did. Are there any cops here, by the way? Is there? There's always one hanging out. You just got up. Are you a cop? No, fuck, I just looked at you. You aren't a cop. If you are, you're the best undercover cop I've ever seen in my life. I'll bet you've never gone through an airport without them looking up your ass. 3 times. I flew back to my hometown, and I tried to explain this to people in the UK. I flew back, I went to the Pot Shop, which was right beside the Great Canadian Superstore in Ottawa. And the Great Canadian Superstore is huge. Like, I don't think people in the UK can fathom how big the shops that we have sometimes here, right? So I went to the Pot Shop, and I said, give me the strongest weed you have. And I should have known, because it's gotten stronger over the years, and he had to wear gloves. When you have to put gloves on to hand someone a joint and you're shaking, like so. It was a pre-rolled, and I smoked it, right? It was just, oh my God, right? Okay, for the people who don't smoke weed here, and I know it's my crowd, so that's probably not many people, but when you smoke weed, you have to center yourself. I always find that I do. I smoke a joint, and then I kind of do this. I get really high, and then I walk, and I get really high, and I go, yeah. So I did that, right? And I felt really good. I had that little giggle. There was a cloud that looked like a dick. It's amazing what makes you laugh when you're high. You're just like, fucker, look at the dick cloud. So I was like, okay, I'm centered. That's what we usually do. And then I took 4 more steps, and I realized I was really high again. I did this. And then I got even higher. And then I realized I was sort of standing in the parking lot like this, and that's weird, right? So I thought I'd better move before someone asked me a question about it. So I decided to go in the Great Canadian Superstore and get some snacks. I wanted some chips, right? So I went to aisle 4, and I remember I reached up to get the chips, and I got even higher. I fell down the stairs even more. So now I'm standing like this, and I was like, okay, I got to get out of here now because something weird's going to happen. I got paranoid. So I put the chips back, and I said, I'll go out the exit, and I'll come back in when I feel a little better, right? Well, I wandered around the Great Canadian Superstore for about 40 minutes looking for the exit, but there were so many aisles and I couldn't find them. And I know it was the weed talking, but I remember thinking to myself, well, obviously I'm going to have to live here now. So I decided to build a small living area by aisle 4. Now, the first thing I thought is I'm going to need a place to live. I'm going to get a tent, right? So I went and got, I remembered Outdoor Furnishing had a tent for sale. So I went and got the tent. I didn't get the display. I got the display model. I didn't get one in a book. Can you imagine me trying to put up a fucking tent? But so I dragged over to aisle 4 and I put it down. And I thought, well, I'm going to need some chairs to sit in. And I like those chairs where you can put the beers in the side, those little, so, and I remember they were also in Outdoor Furnishing. So I went back and got 2 chairs and I put them outside the tent. And then I thought, well, later it's going to get dark. So I'm going to need like lights. So I went and I got some they had some Christmas light area, right? So I went and I got the lights and I got an extension cord. And I remember I ran the extension cord from the frozen foods over the rafters with the lights, and they hung very nicely over top of my tent, right? And then I thought, well, if I have a date later, I'm going to need some food. So I thought I'll get a portable barbecue, right? Because I like a barbecue. Who doesn't like a barbecue? So I brought the barbecue back and I put it outside the tent. And then I thought to myself, steaks. That's what I would like with my date. So I'm going to go get some steaks. So I went and got some steaks. And as I walked back, I started to sober up. And I realized what I had done. Like I built this small living area inside the shop. And that's really weird, right? And then I saw a guy in the Great Canadian Superstore top, and I thought I'd better go cut him off so he doesn't call, and I don't end up in a mental institution or at the cop shop. So I walked up to him and I said, hey, I'm so sorry, man. I realize this looks weird. Let me explain. I was at the pot shop next door, and I got really high, really high. You know when you do this, and then... So I came in here to get some chips, right, in aisle 4, and I went to get them, and I realized I was too high to be in there because I got a little higher, and I thought I'd leave, and I wanted to leave, dude. I really wanted to leave. But there's a lot of aisles here, and I got lost. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to need to live here. And I know that's weird, and I've built a small living area here, with the tent and the lights, and I know that's odd, but please don't call the cops. I promise I'll return everything right now. I'm really sorry. And you know what he said to me? I've been here 4 days. I just want to sit in your chair. I was like, go ahead, buddy, we're having steaks later.